Gene Haas thought he was signing a routine technical partnership, but Toyota Gazoo Racing just pulled off the most ruthless Trojan horse operation in modern Formula One history by exploiting a massive gray area in the FIA sporting regulations regarding non-constructor technical alliances. Toyota secured full access to live F1 telemetry, driver development pipelines, and advanced hardware validation setups without paying a single dollar of the sport's anti-dilution fee. Haas gets desperately needed manufacturing muscle and simulator access, but Gene Haas has effectively handed the keys of his independent outfit to an automotive titan that will slowly swallow his team whole. This is not a casual branding sticker slapped on an engine cover. This is a cold, calculated power grab that fundamentally alters how legacy automotive giants can enter Formula One without taking on the crushing financial exposure of building an engine from scratch. If you want to stay ahead of every technical exploit and corporate takeover shaking up the grid, hit the subscribe button right now and drop a comment letting me know whether Toyota will own this entire team outright within 3 years. To understand how Toyota trapped Haas in broad daylight while the FIA watched helplessly, you have to look at the exact mechanics of the regulatory framework both sides just weaponized. For a decade, the Haas F1 business model was the ultimate low-overhead experiment in cost efficiency. Gene Haas refused to invest hundreds of millions into heavy manufacturing infrastructure, choosing instead to outsource everything allowed under the rules. Dallara built the carbon composite chassis in Italy. Ferrari supplied the power unit, gearbox, rear suspension, and internal hydraulics, while Haas operated out of a modest forward base in Banbury. It was like running a pop-up kitchen out of a rented food truck, pulling off impressive results while avoiding the brick-and-mortar overhead that bankrupted legacy outfits like Manor and Caterham. But when the FIA introduced the budget cap, alongside strict aerodynamic testing restrictions that penalize higher finishing positions with reduced wind tunnel hours, the limits of the Haas model hit a brick wall. Haas lacked a dedicated, modern driver-in-the-loop simulator, leaving their race drivers to run correlation setups in Ferrari's Maranello facility on limited allocated time slots. Their composite manufacturing pipelines were chronically slow, forcing trackside engineers to run outdated wing assemblies, while top-tier teams introduced weekly floor edge revisions. Gene Haas was effectively bringing a pocket knife to a 200-mile-per-hour gunfight, caught in a cycle where limited infrastructure capped track performance, which in turn capped sponsorship revenue. Toyota Gazoo Racing recognized this structural vulnerability and executed a precision corporate ambush. Toyota did not approach Haas asking to buy shares or fund a multi-hundred-million-dollar power unit project for the upcoming 2026 engine regulations. Buying an existing team outright requires paying exorbitant franchise valuations, while entering as an 11th team demands a multi-hundred-million-dollar entry fee plus complete infrastructure build-outs from scratch. Instead, Toyota targeted the gray zone inside Article 6 of the FIA technical regulations, which governs listed and non-listed team components. By offering specialized engineering services, advanced carbon fiber manufacturing, driver development personnel, and access to their state-of-the-art Cologne facility, Toyota positioned themselves as an essential operational spine without triggering a taxable change of ownership or an FIA constructor review. Consider how this agreement functions under the skin of the race team. Toyota is supplying personnel, computational fluid dynamics optimization, and physical prototyping directly to Haas. In return, Toyota engineers are embedded directly inside the Haas pit wall and garage telemetry loops during live race weekends. They get unfiltered access to modern ground effect aerodynamic correlation data, high-frequency tire deformation metrics, and real-time brake temperature profiles. Toyota gets all the high-level research and development data generated by modern Formula One machinery, while Haas pays for the privilege through shared operational integration. If you were a rival team principal watching a major car manufacturer gain full telemetry access without paying an entry fee, would you protest this arrangement to the FIA immediately? To understand why rival team principals are grinding their teeth, you have to look at the testing of previous cars framework, known across the paddock as TPC regulations. Under current FIA rules, teams are permitted to run 2-year-old F1 machinery for unlimited testing miles, provided the cars strictly conform to historical specifications and use standardized control ECU software. Historically, TPC programs were money-losing operations reserved for ultra-wealthy teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull to train junior drivers and validate structural reliability. Haas could never afford a continuous TPC running schedule because shipping, track hires, engine mileage fees, and trackside support crews bled capital faster than their balance sheet could tolerate. Toyota solved that problem overnight by transforming the TPC program into their private testing playground. Toyota facilities in Cologne will manufacture replacement components, run structural stress testing, and supply the track support personnel for Haas TPC events. Toyota gets to train its young Japanese factory drivers and technical staff on real F1 machinery, acquiring crucial trackside operational rhythm and software telemetry management experience. Meanwhile, Haas gets a fully funded driver testing pipeline and real-world track validation without pulling money away from their primary budget cap allocation. The FIA is completely powerless to intervene because every single transaction is structured as an arm's-length technical service provider contract. Under the FIA financial regulations, service contracts between teams and third-party vendors are entirely legal, provided the services are billed at fair market value and documented within the team's annual cap submission. Because Toyota is not an engine supplier or a rival team registered with the FIA, their internal engineering expenditure outside the direct Haas deliverables falls entirely beyond the jurisdiction of FIA financial auditors. Toyota can spend tens of millions of dollars at their Cologne research center, refining advanced carbon weaving techniques, structural heat shields, and simulator software models, then license those finished products to Haas at cost. This setup functions like a corporate dive bar getting turned into an elite sushi restaurant overnight, while keeping the original name on the front sign. Haas remains the registered entrant on paper, satisfying the FIA that no illegal transfer of intellectual property between rival constructors has taken place. Yet under the hood, the engineering engine driving the car's iterative development belongs entirely to Toyota Gazoo Racing. The operational reality on the factory floor reveals a massive shift in technical leverage that Ferrari is watching with extreme anxiety. Ferrari has enjoyed a near-monopolistic influence over Haas since 2016. Haas bought every non-listed component allowed under Appendix 6 of the technical regulations directly from Maranello, even leasing office space inside Ferrari's headquarters to house their design team. This arrangement guaranteed Ferrari a loyal customer vote in F1 commission meetings and a reliable sandbox to place Ferrari driver academy talent like Mick Schumacher and Oliver Behrman. But Toyota's arrival fundamentally disrupts that balance of power. Toyota brings a manufacturing footprint that dwarfs Ferrari's production bandwidth for non-essential components. While Haas will continue to use Ferrari internal combustion engines and energy recovery systems through the 2026 regulation cycle, every other mechanical aspect of the car is being systematically realigned toward Toyota's engineering ecosystem. Toyota's high-capacity autoclaves, advanced composite layup bays, and hardware-in-the-loop simulation rigs can produce experimental floor edges, side pod winglets, and suspension brackets at twice the speed of Haas's previous supply chain. When a team can iterate floor geometry 48 hours faster than its midfield rivals, track performance accelerates dramatically. Toyota is taking over the rapid prototyping pipeline, meaning Haas will no longer wait weeks for Dallara to manufacture replacement aerodynamic packages. Toyota's Cologne wind tunnel, a massive twin-roll facility capable of handling 60% scale models with full belt speed simulation, gives Haas a level of aerodynamic correlation accuracy they could only dream of 3 years ago. If you were sitting in the Ferrari board meeting right now, would you reduce technical support to Haas to protect your own IP? Or double down to prevent Toyota from taking over the relationship entirely? The true brilliance of Toyota's strategy lies in how they managed to trap Gene Haas within his own commercial ambitions. Gene Haas has made it explicitly clear for years that he has no interest in selling the team for anything less than an astronomical valuation. Nor does he want to fund massive capital expenditures out of his own pocket. He wanted a partner who would bring money, technical horsepower, and commercial credibility without demanding equity control. Toyota gave him exactly what he asked for, but wrapped it in a contract structure that makes Haas completely dependent on Toyota's industrial complex to remain competitive. Consider what happens 3 years into this arrangement. Toyota will have fully integrated its software platforms into the Haas trackside garage, supplied the track engineers, trained the mechanics, manufactured the composite structures, and housed the simulation development inside its Cologne facilities. At that point, Haas will no longer possess an independent technical identity. Trying to untangle Haas from Toyota in 2028 would be like trying to remove flour from a baked cake. The entire structural integrity of the race team would collapse the moment Toyota unplugged its servers and pulled its personnel. This is a python slowly swallowing a rabbit in slow motion. Toyota did not need to buy 51% of the shares today because they are buying 51% of the team's operational capability month by month through infrastructure integration. If Gene Haas ever decides to sell the team in the future, there will only be one viable buyer on Earth, capable of running the operation without a multi-year complete rebuild: Toyota Gazoo Racing. Every other prospective buyer would look at a shell company with no proprietary simulator, no composite manufacturing, and no internal software tools, and realize they were buying nothing more than an entry slot on a piece of paper. Rival midfield teams like Williams, Sauber, and Racing Bulls are watching this maneuver with a mix of awe and terror. For years, independent teams faced an existential dilemma: either sell out to a massive global automotive manufacturer or accept permanent mid-grid mediocrity due to infrastructure limitations. Toyota just invented a third path: a stealth corporate takeover that bypasses the anti-dilution fee, bypasses engine manufacturing mandates, and bypasses traditional owner equity dilution while securing every operational benefit of a full factory outfit. The FIA Technical Delegate Office is currently scouring the agreement for any breach of the listed team components rules, which mandate that every constructor must retain exclusive intellectual property ownership of their aerodynamic surfaces, survival cell, and roll structures. But Toyota's legal strategists spent months crafting the contract to ensure complete compliance. Haas designs the surface geometry on paper, maintaining theoretical ownership of the intellectual property, while Toyota simply acts as the contract manufacturer and simulation host. It is an airtight legal loop that leaves the FIA completely hamstrung. They cannot ban a team from using a third-party manufacturing vendor without shutting down half the grid's existing supply chains. Think about the psychological impact on the personnel inside the Banbury and Kannapolis facilities. Mechanics, aerodynamicists, and race engineers who spent years scrambling with limited resources and delayed upgrade packages now find themselves backed by the unlimited engineering power of one of the world's largest automotive groups. The cultural shift is immediate and profound. Standardized procedures, military-grade quality control, and deep corporate analytics are replacing the reactive, survival mode mindset that defined Haas for its first decade in the paddock. Yet this rapid transformation creates an incredible amount of internal friction. Haas engineers must now interface between three completely different corporate cultures: the high-octane Italian flair of Ferrari's power unit division in Maranello, the pragmatic American cost efficiency of Gene Haas's executive management, and the hyper-disciplined, relentless process engineering of Toyota Gazoo Racing in Cologne and Aichi. Managing the communication channels between these three distinct entities during a high-stress race weekend is an operational tightrope walk, where a single miscommunication in telemetry translation or unit conversion could ruin an entire qualifying session. Do you believe a team split between three different countries and corporate cultures can actually challenge for podiums? Or will internal politics tear this project apart from the inside? To grasp the full scale of this strategic trap, you must look at the driver market dynamics that this deal unleashes. Under the previous status quo, Haas was effectively forced to reserve seats for Ferrari Driver Academy prospects in exchange for power unit discounts and technical access. That setup brought talent into the car, but it also forced Haas to endure costly rookie mistakes and steep learning curves that destroyed precious cost cap dollars in carbon repair bills. Toyota's entry fundamentally rewires that talent pipeline. Toyota operates massive motorsport programs across the World Endurance Championship and Super Formula, producing elite driver talent that routinely misses out on F1 opportunities simply because Toyota lacked a direct seat on the grid. With Haas now relying on Toyota's TPC program and engineering infrastructure, Toyota gains immense leverage to place its top drivers, such as Japanese stars competing in domestic and international series, straight into Haas Friday free practice sessions and TPC evaluation tests. Ferrari no longer has a monopoly on the second seat, creating an intense internal tug-of-war between Maranello and Cologne for driver placement power. This places the drivers in a brutal pressure cooker. Every lap of telemetry is analyzed, not just by Haas race engineers, but by parallel data rooms in Italy and Japan, each looking to validate their respective development programs and driver choices. If a driver struggles with front-end bite or thermal tire degradation, the engineering teams will disagree on whether the root cause lies in Ferrari's rear suspension geometry or Toyota's front-wing flex characteristics under aerodynamic load. The room for human error vanishes entirely when two corporate giants are comparing every sensor reading to justify their capital investments. The ultimate endgame of this rebrand goes far beyond the current regulation cycle. By embedding themselves into Haas today, Toyota is conducting a risk-free, real-world evaluation of Formula One's financial and technical ecosystem ahead of the next major engine and chassis cycle. If the commercial trajectory of Formula One continues to skyrocket, Toyota can simply execute a seamless buyout of Gene Haas's remaining shares, instantly transforming the operation into a full Toyota factory entry with zero downtime and no learning curve. If the global economy shifts, or F1's popularity cools, Toyota can simply walk away at the end of their service contract, having extracted years of cutting-edge hybrid and aerodynamic data for a fraction of the cost of a full engine development program. Gene Haas achieved his short-term goal of securing world-class technical infrastructure without spending his own capital, but he did so by walking directly into a gilded cage. Toyota Gazoo Racing built a legal, financial, and operational framework that leaves Haas utterly unable to function without them, securing full F1 presence while the FIA stands by, completely unable to enforce traditional manufacturer entry barriers. This ruthlessly efficient maneuver redefines the boundary between independent team survival and corporate takeover in modern motorsport. Legacy constructors can no longer rely purely on historical prestige or massive engine budgets to dominate the grid. Agility, regulatory exploitation, and strategic outsourcing have become the ultimate weapons in the cost cap era. Toyota didn't just sponsor a team, they executed a masterclass in modern corporate warfare that will force every manufacturer on the grid to rewrite their playbook. If you were sitting in Gene Haas's position today, would you have signed this contract to secure survival? Or would you have refused to sign away your team's technical independence?